God did in my life, and I'm excited to share it with you. I was born in 1971. God breathed life to me at that time. I believe God breathed life into every living being that He created. Grew up into a church-going family. We were a God-fearing family. We went to church every week because it was what we were supposed to do, right? It's what we had to do. And some of you may remember the hard pews in the churches around here. Well, I got to know those hard pews pretty well. I think my brother and my sister had it in for me when I would start dozing off in church. I was called, well, you all seen the movie Cars? Anyone remember Nodder? Well, that was my nickname. I was Nodder because I was always nodding off in church. And my head would fall back and bang those pews so hard that the entire church would turn around and look at me. And I remember that so clearly, and my brother and sister would say, hey, look at him, he's nodding again. Let's get him to nod off again. That was me growing up in church. I learned a little bit more than that, but that was basically go to church, that's what you're supposed to do. And I knew there was a God. Growing up, I knew there was God, but I didn't have a relationship with Him. But I believe all people know that there is a God because He breathed life into everyone. It's just what separates us. Sin has separated us from that truth, that knowledge. He's our Creator. So He wants to know us, and sin has separated us. And that's where I was. Sin separated me from Him. I didn't know Him. Growing up, I was required to memorize prayers. But they were not my own prayers. They were someone else's prayers that were written a long time ago that we memorized. But again, I say I knew there was something else. So I would always add my own requests to that prayer. And one of my biggest fears growing up, I don't even think my mom knows this. One of my biggest fears growing up was that I would be alone. And I would lie awake in bed, I would pray my memorized prayers, but I would add that, Lord, I don't want to be alone. And then when I was able to drive, it brought about a new freedom. You all remember when you were 16, you got freedom to drive, you were able to go places. That freedom also brought me trouble because I didn't make wise choices. I chose friends who weren't good for me. I loved to party, and there were many late nights that I know, and I apologize to my mom because I know she was up every night. She didn't know this, but I would look when I would come home, and the curtains would move, and I always knew it was my mom. She would always wonder where I was. So I apologized to my mom for that, for those late nights. But I appreciated them. And I know she didn't sleep until I came home. Things were awesome, right? I had life figured out. 17 years old, everything was great. How many of you at 17 years old had life figured out? Or maybe you are 17 and you think you have it figured out. Well, I didn't. I thought I did. So I made it through high school. And there, that was it. That's when life begins, right? That's what they teach you in school. It's all beginning. From there, graduated high school, went to tech school, and remember my prayers earlier that I didn't want to be alone? Well, I saw a beautiful woman in tech school. And you know what? She's my wife today, but I saw a beautiful woman. But the greatest thing was she was driving a '69 Camaro. It was straight from the factory, green with white stripes on the hood. So there were two things that caught my eye. My beautiful wife and the car she drove. So here I am, 19 years old, still have life figured out, right? You can see where this is going. So I pursue her. She agrees to date me. I don't know why, because she shouldn't have. I never really told her my name. And I would say, Abby, if you told me you were going to go date someone that I didn't know their name, I would probably say no. So your mom should have said no. But God was in this. She knew that, or He knew that she was going to be my wife someday. I think we went out a couple of times. She invites me to church. And yeah, I got this, no problem, right? I can handle going to church again. I haven't been in church in probably 5 years to that point. And I had it all figured out at 20 years old. So yeah, I'm going to church. I went to church with my future wife, and then my date, Tracy, to Friendship Church Prior Lake. But there was really something strange going on in this church. The people were happy. The music was fun. And there was nobody sleeping in the service like I did. There were no nodders. So And there were very few, or where I always sat was the back row, and there were very few people back there. So church became something in a new experience for me. For the first time in my life, I heard teaching I had never heard before. Or I might have heard it, but I didn't hear it in that way, or I wasn't listening. The teaching was passionate, it was exciting, and it made it interesting for me. After a few months of hearing the gospel, I understood in a prayer that came every week, and I finally accepted Christ. And that was at age 20 years old that I became a follower of Christ. And that was in a service where every week that prayer got offered. And you know what? Every week I kept doing that prayer over and over. So maybe I wasn't saved at that time. Maybe I was, but there's more to my story. Age 21, remember my alone prayer. I was no longer alone. I found Jesus as my Savior. And I married my wife at age 21. I was no longer alone. I had no fear of being alone because I knew I had Jesus. Here we are at 21 years old, well, let's say 28 years old, 4 children, 3 here today. I have 1 in the Air Force. Life was good. I had it all figured out. And today I have another family member, Tasha, my daughter-in-law, and Samson, my first grandson. But let's go back a little bit to the time when my family was growing up. I did not get involved in church. I didn't connect. But whose fault was that? It was my fault. It was not the church's fault. They had all kinds of programs to get involved, to get plugged in. But I chose not to. It was my own selfish desires. My children were involved in Awana. They were memorizing verses. They were plugged in. Tracy was involved with Awana as well, Sunday mornings, but not me. I didn't make that next step. Fast forward to 2007. 36 years old I am. Tracy and I felt we should get involved in our local church. So we searched around for a few churches, and we found fellowship with the church in town here, Community Baptist Church. We visited a few churches, but that's where God led us. And that's when my walk with the Lord became genuine, it became real. And you know why that is? Is because the pastor took the time and took me under his wing. And he taught me. He mentored me. He taught me the importance of church membership and what it meant to follow Christ in that manner. He taught me what it meant to be baptized. Up to that point, I didn't see the need to be baptized. I thought it was just something that you did, it was just a ritual, because that's where I was brought up. It was a ritual. So 2008, at 37 years old, I was baptized, and I know at that point when I made my public profession of faith, I became a follower of Christ. And that's when everything changed. I believe I was saved at 21, but I didn't step off and jump all in until age 36. Now I'm 46 years old. The last 10 years have been Jesus leading me. 10 years ago, I surrendered to the Lord. And still today, He is transforming me. And I pray that He continues to. I bring my testimony to you today as God has led me to call a serving elder here at Calvary Church. I believe God has led me to that. It was just over a year ago that I answered that call in a service, but it's been a long training and process through many classes, through a group of men meeting together. And I'm excited. You're going to hear Andy's testimony next week as well, and to see what's going to happen here at Calvary Church. The leadership is we're excited to see where that's going. So I'm excited to be a servant to you, to our community, but above all to be a servant to Jesus Christ. And I have one go-to passage that I always seem to go to, and that's John chapter 17. I call that the Lord's Prayer. It's not really labeled that, but it's when Jesus, it's his final prayer before he is betrayed, before they take him and to the garden, from the garden. I'd like to read 17, 18 through 19. As you sent me into the world, so I have sent them into the world. And for their sake I consecrate myself, that they also may be sanctified in truth. Here Jesus prays for his disciples. He thinks they're ready to go, and they take the word and go. Jesus prays for them. Remember, Jesus is about to be betrayed here, and he knows what's coming. He's going to face my punishment for me. But verse 20 and 21 is what really catches me here. And I want you to pick up on this. I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. Who is Jesus praying for in these verses? He's praying for us. 2,000 years ago, he prayed for you. He prayed for me. When I was a teenager, praying in my bed that I wouldn't be alone, he thought of me 2,000 years ago. He prayed for you and me. That thought there just always catches me, floors me. So with that said, would you bow your heads in prayer with me? Jesus, I thank you for what you have done, for you leading me, for you stepping down and saving me, for the punishment that you took for me. Lord Jesus, in your prayer that you thought of me, you thought of everyone in this room. Lord, I thank you that you began your church over 2,000 years ago, and it's continuing today, that your word has continued. Lord, this morning I pray that your word would penetrate the hearts of people in here. Lord, as the message gets brought, that your word penetrates hearts. Lord, I pray for those who do not know you yet. There may be some in here. Lord, I pray that you would touch them. Lord, I pray for those who are on the fence like I was, not ready to dive in. That may today be the day that they jump in. And Lord, for those who have fallen away, Lord, it's never too late. Your arms are always wide open, ready to accept us. Lord, I pray that this morning would be an open door to you, Jesus. And Lord, may our hearts soften up to hear what you have to teach us. Lord, I thank you for your words. May we take them this morning. And Lord, may we now continue to worship you. And remember the day that he reached down and saved you. And sing praises to him in that day. It is in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.